Hey, what's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. My surroundings look a little bit different today. I am in New York City, beautiful New York. It's bright and sunny here today, a fall day, and I am in the offices of Fundraise Up. So if you're familiar, you know they're one of my favorite partners. And so you're going to actually get to hear from Nick, their director of experience, in just a second. But I am really excited for today's conversation. It's perfect with where I'm at and who I'm going to be talking to and my love of all things digital and experiences online and really engaging your community in a meaningful way and giving them access to work with you via digital. And so I have Sophia, who goes by Puff Story here, and I'm super excited to have her chat with you. She's based in Miami, so we're just all over the place today. So before we go ahead and get started, I want to give you a sneak peek into Fundraise Up tool. So if you are in the place of looking to optimize your online giving and your website for Giving Tuesday, for end of the year, or even going into Q1, you want to make sure that your user experience fits with what a consumer, aka supporter, would want. So take a look at what Fundraise Up provides. Okay, that video has such a vibe. It's got the jams. I'm going to go ahead and bring on Nick Miller real quick. Slide on over. There he is. We're here in your offices. I fell in love with this platform, a year ago?
It's probably about a year ago, yeah.
Yeah, and so much has changed with the platform since then. There's obviously a ton of different tools out there in the online space. What are you seeing work really well right now? And what conversations are you having with your partners when they're using their tool that really stands out?
I would say that the name of the game now is individualization. It's something I think we've talked about in the nonprofit space for a while now, but it's becoming more and more clear that this is what's necessary to meet donors where they are. They're also consumers. And so the experiences we craft for the consumers are becoming more individualized. And so we need to do the same for donors. And we're seeing that work really well for nonprofits that want to not only increase their overall digital revenue, but see upticks in their recurring support as well. So that's where we come into the game for a lot of nonprofits. Our platform takes care of a lot of that behind the scenes for them. And we're really excited to get to partner with them.
I love it. Also, a lot of you know that I do a lot in the social advertising space. And something that I love is that they directly integrate with the Facebook pixels. And now even the conversion API I saw was added. So that the biggest difference for you guys listening, when you are going to be running social ads to your website, if you click the donate button and you are sent to a different URL that's not your own, Facebook can't track that. So the best thing, what I love about Fundraise Up's tool is when you click on the donate button, it immediately opens up that pop-up experience on your own domain. So therefore, if you're running ads, you can see the conversion sent back to your campaign and ads manager. So there's a bazillion features that I love about the tool. Your video mentioned AI. Can you just touch on that real quick about what that means?
Yeah, so as part of individualizing the experience for donors, we use AI to help understand where donors are, where they live, the devices that they're using, what the common denominators are that drive people to donate, and the specific amounts that they'll donate. So we plug all of that in, and that's how we help those customers see 2x growth in their digital revenue.
And it's very cool. So I just onboarded somebody yesterday. I'm onboarding somebody else tomorrow with the tool. And the difference is, what this comes into play is when somebody clicks on the donate button, there might be 6 different amounts usually that you can donate. And traditionally, right, you might set those as 25, 50, 100, whatever. In this case, the AI is using that information to really curate the best dollar amounts for that person. So in my test yesterday, my amount was 140 and they had 125 as that dollar amount. So it's really cool. how it works. And so I'm super excited. If anybody wants to check it out, is it just fundraiseup.com?
Fundraiseup.com. Click on that request a demo button, and we'll see how we can help you ahead of Giving Tuesday and year-end fundraising.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Thanks for hosting me in the space.
Of course, our pleasure.
And he slides out, slide back in. Amazing. If anybody has any questions during this conversation about Fundraise Up, ThreeSided Cube, I'm about to bring on Puff, please just let me know. So without further ado, let's get this conversation started. So Puff Story is a co-founder of ThreeSided Cube USA, responsible for the client relationships and impact of projects. She's a boss, named as one of the top 100 most influential business developers in the UK. I love this, that she's known for her, and I can proof, contagious laughter, love of neon colors, and an unrelenting passion to help organizations such as the American Red Cross, the World Resources Institute, and Save the Children to make a difference. So without further ado, I'm going to bring her on.
Hey! Yay! Although I'm not wearing any neon colors. That's a rookie error.
I know you're in Florida wearing all black, but you do have the shades on.
Yeah, I've got the shades on. I'm always wearing shades.
I love that. So quick backstory for everybody. How Puff and I met is we are both a part of this group called the Purpose Collaborative. And we met during our annual conference this year virtually. And anytime somebody mentions to me that they work in the digital experiences space, I like lean in extra hard and have to learn more. And then when I saw the work she was doing, you guys are doing, it was unreal and so cool in the social impact nonprofit space. So will you please tell us, like, what is ThreeSided Cube and the mission behind the work you do?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, okay, ThreeSided Cube, our mission is to build tech for good to change millions of lives for the better, which sounds pretty punchy, but I know we can do it because we already are. So we've got a team of around 60 people within ThreeSided Cube, and we all work on projects that have a positive social impact, and we work on those projects exclusively. So we won't work on projects that don't have a positive social impact. Typically the projects, we're a tech agency, so the projects are, they tend to involve solutions like mobile apps, websites, platforms, voice skills, anything where you're creating bespoke software. And it's, I mean, I'm biased, but I love the work we do. It's all very, very impactful. And we're super proud of it, you know?
I love it. How did you get, so co-founder, how did it start?
Oh gosh. So it started about 12 years ago now. So we've been going for quite a while. Head office, you can probably tell from, thank you. You can probably tell from my accent. We have a head office in the UK. And it was founded by a guy called Duncan Cook, who, you know, being really transparent, he basically just started a digital agency for more lifestyle purposes. And then we ended up working with a brand called SLR, who created the first vision screening mobile app, which was a long time ago now. It was 12 years ago. And that became an overnight success. So that basically took off. And it still exists today in its original form. I don't think it's been updated for 12 years, which is really shocking these days. But yeah, so, and I think because of that, we realized that actually we were pretty good at this. But what we loved as a team was having that positive social impact. So we quickly pivoted and really kind of honed in on our mission. And decided, right, these are the kind of projects that we want to do. And I was obviously working really closely with Duncan. And then I would say for the past 10 years, we have been servicing clients in the US. Clients like the American Red Cross, Nordstrom, Accenture, ASPCA, quite a lot of well-known US brands. And we made the decision a few years ago that we would, or I would, move to the US and set up the office and build a team out there. And then COVID happened. So, which was, you know, it is what it is. And so I ended up basically running the US side of the business from the UK for about a year until I could physically get out here. So I've been on US soil for the past 2 months now.
Oh wow, it's super recent.
Yeah, it's like super recent. It's been a lot. Thank you. Everyone's been super welcoming and super kind. But it's just I'm trying to get all the life admin in place that can then allow me to start recruiting and be based somewhere more permanent. So
oh my God, I'm so glad you're here. I didn't realize that it was so recent. That's amazing. Well, we're gonna have to get you in person and connect in some way, shape, or form now that you're here. So when you guys started to do the social impact version, my follow-up to that is really when organizations come to you, I'm assuming with usually a problem, right? That they're looking to find a digital way to solve, or like, how does that work how do they approach you? And then how does the creative process come up to say, we want to build this?
So, I mean, that would be the dream if they came to us with an actual problem. But, the harsh reality is most of the time people come to us and say, we need a mobile app. And I spend my time saying why or no more often than I, spend saying yes or yeah, this is a really, really good brief. I think, for us, we have to remember that the technology is agnostic, right? And what we ultimately want to do is try and solve a problem or hit an objective. We're trying to achieve something, and our process is very much literally grounded in that. So typically we have 3 phases that we go through as an agency. The first phase 1, is what we would call a discover and define. So no matter how a client comes to us, whether they're like, we need a mobile app, or they're trying to solve a problem, whatever they think they're trying to do, we have to go through this phase 1 process because we need to understand that in a lot more detail.
Yeah, they probably discover some things about themselves they didn't know either.
Absolutely. And I think what is quite common, which I hope we can change, is that especially in the tech side of things, especially when you're trying to build software, is people will either only involve the creatives or the UX or the client strategists, right? So it's one side of the coin. They then forget or almost think it's not worth involving the developers at this point because it's way too soon. And my pushback on that is, no, you have to involve the whole team right from the very start. Like, they need to be fully immersed in what the problem is, what are you trying to solve, who are your target audiences, and then most importantly, what are your measures of success, not only for your organization, so it's also from your target audience's perspective. Like, what does success look like to them? Because I'll tell you now, it looks very different from a donor's point of view to a organization's point of view, and we have to understand both. And I think, that's certainly in the world of in the world of software development, particularly, people, it's not they forget to do that, they kind of neglect to do it. So I would highlight that and say you've got to think about that. Phase 1 is super important, and I think we fully immerse ourselves in that, and the whole team is involved. So you have a minimum of 6 or 7 people involved in that process, and everyone is wearing a different hat. Everyone is looking at this problem, from a different perspective, trying to understand what a potential solution might look like. We do that. We come up with some concepts. We would prototype. We would user test that prototype, and it's a very iterative process. You're not going to get it right first time. You're going to have to keep iterating, keep changing, keep updating, keep user testing until you get to a point where you're like, this is the solution. This is something that we feel super happy with, and we know we've reduced the risk as much as we possibly can. So once we've done that, we then define that solution, and we do that through writing user stories and acceptance criteria. And we do this because, when someone writes a feature list or a list of requirements, the way that a designer interprets that is going to be very different to a way a developer interprets it. And a potential client or a client strategist, everyone will be wearing a different hat. So we write these user stories and acceptance criteria so that it is crystal clear what it is we're building and why, and what that looks like. And it's, I use the analogy, it's like building a house, right? These are our blueprints.
Yeah.
Like we can't get into development until we have our blueprints. And you know, it is very similar to building a house. It's you're
bringing me back to my digital product days. I don't think you knew this. I used to work for a company. They've changed names. Nick and I were just chatting about this earlier, where we built and designed the websites and apps for mostly sports teams and leagues.
Yeah.
PGA Tour, NASCAR, Sporting News, all the things. And so it's what you're talking about is extremely detailed and extremely important.
Yeah. And what I think, the way that I try and describe it to clients is, look, you ultimately with phase one, you're trying to reduce the risk as much as possible before you get into phase two of stuff going wrong, and there being curveballs when you get into
expectations.
Yeah,
for everybody.
And you know, we're all on the same page. It means that when you get into phase two, which is the design and development, things should run pretty smoothly, and you're not going to, or you should not run into any issues, which is always nice. And we've been running this process for a very long time, for many years, and it's thorough. It really is thorough. But I think, especially in the world we're operating in today, when you have so much going on and so much moving, like so many moving parts to solutions, and when you might be leaning on third-party solutions which are also changing whilst you're working, so it's always best to kind of get those blueprints done, and make sure that we're all agreed and we know what exactly we're building.
Well, and the process clearly works, because one of your amazing projects that I want to bring up, and this kind of like talking through how this process actually comes through to fruition. Let's just talk about the American Heart Association app for a second. 90 million in donations and 200,000 monthly blood donation appointments were made. This is, I think, a beautiful case study of what I am seeing in the supporter space is people, yes, they want to give a gift, but they also want to take action to participate in the brand and making a difference themselves. So this gave them that experience. How did this one work? Did they come to you and say, we want an app, or like, how did this work?
The real story is we actually met a guy called Brian Boyle at the White House. So we were at the White House doing a talk on some of the disaster preparedness apps that we do, and we met this guy. I mean, he was super inspiring, like absolutely, like one of the most incredible people I think I've ever met. And he had essentially dedicated his life to blood donation, and because he had an accident and he had received blood donations to help save his life. And one of the issues he flagged was that they had it was the American Red Cross. They had employed a third party, and they were phoning up to encourage people to sign up to donate blood. And what was happening was people were saying yes on the phone, and then they just weren't showing up. So it meant that the appointment show rate was about 52%. So a lot of time and money was being wasted on these blood drives. And Brian was like, how can we solve this? And this was about 7 years ago now. And we were like, oh my gosh, like you could have this really cool solution where you could get people to sign up on their own time and their own terms, and you could track where your blood was going and how many people's lives you saved as a result of your blood donation. So, and you know, back 7 years ago, we didn't know if the technology could make it happen, but we were like, okay, let's try it. So we basically came up with a concept. We put together a business case with them, and we created a prototype, and we took it to blood drives. And what was super insightful was that basically when you uncovered the impact you were having when you donated blood, people were going to like definitely show up for their appointments, but they were also going to repeat book. And so it basically a year or two later, it transpired that we designed and developed this mobile app that is now the most popular way to sign up to donate blood. Like,
that's amazing.
It beats web, it beats like any other channel that they have. And it's all because of these devices. You know, Nick was saying earlier, the there is definitely a trend for people wanting like personalized experiences and everything to be tailored. And one of the beautiful things with mobile phones is you can do that through a mobile app, or any, like, there are other ways of doing it, progressive web apps, however you want to do it. But yeah, we basically delivered a personalized experience, and it allowed people to sign up and donate when they wanted to, but more importantly, see the impact that they were having, that then people could share and invite their friends to, which was, it's a wonderful case study. And I think
I think download this app.
Yeah, you do. Like, I think the amazing thing is the appointment show rate is like 92% now.
Wow. That's incredible. How cool. That's amazing. So so from a standpoint of like upkeep, do they still work with you guys like continuously? Yeah.
So the app, I'm going to call it a platform because there's an Alexa skill. There's lots of different parts to it now, but it's been going for about 6-7 years. I think it is now booking around 300,000 appointments every month. And it's just scaling. It's getting bigger and bigger and more users. And it's like anything, like when things grow, like there's a lot of technical re-engineering that goes on behind the scenes to make sure that we can scale these platforms and make sure that they can accommodate the level of users. But yeah, like we now have, I think you can get your COVID test results through the app now, and there's lots of really cool features that have come up. So we do a thing called continuous improvement, which we call phase 3. So we're continuously improving that app. We're looking at the data, looking at, doing user interviews, making sure that we are keeping up to speed with that. But I think, it's like any digital or technical solution, you need to see how people use it and how that evolves over time and try and accommodate accordingly.
Yeah, I think it's so important. I think a lot of times, even this happens with our websites. We'll be like, oh, our website's done. And then they don't go back and touch it. Never. You are always tweaking. Things are never just like done, especially in the digital world, and things change so quickly. The second one I wanted to bring up before my last question for you is this really cool experience that you did with Lush. So they're one of my favorite brands. And they had this idea of saving the oceans through a package-free store. So tell me if I've got this right. So I'm just going to grab this plant. Does this move? This moves. So essentially, let's just say this was my bath bomb or my soap, right? Essentially, you could take this app. Was it an app? Okay, you could take their app and you could scan this plant, this bath bomb that I have, and it would tell me everything about it, right?
Yeah, so it would tell you. Yeah, absolutely. It'll tell you all the ingredients, the cost. I think now they've integrated the app into and it will vary by country, but you can also buy the products as well. So there's no need for barcodes as such. Yeah.
Why doesn't everyone do this?
So, and this is the way that technology is going. I think it's consumer adoption. I think, to be able to do that, you're going to need everyone to have that mobile app on their phone, or all the consumers to have the mobile app on their phones. But it does vary by country, but it's incredible. And the crazy thing is this all kind of happened by accident. Like this wasn't a planned product as such. So again, being really transparent, we have a thing called free-ish time at the agency, where every single person in the production team gets a week every 6 or 7 weeks to work on a product or a project of their own choice.
Cool.
So I think like Google have the 80-20 rule, where they spend 1 day a week working on a project of their own choice. But we tried that, it didn't work. 1 day a week isn't that much time, and you can't really achieve a lot in software development in 1 day. So we kind of thought a week was a good amount of time. And one of our Android developers, Nikos, I love him, he's amazing. One of our clients is basically a vision impaired charity, not for profit. They're very, very small in the UK, and he was so taken back by some of the work we were doing for them. He wanted to create an app that basically helped people with like sight loss. So you would be able to hold up your mobile phone, and your phone would recognize like daily objects. So if it was like looking at my laptop, it would say it's a laptop, and it would act as a pair of eyes for the individual. So Nikos created this app, I think, in like 5 days. Like, it was super quick. He like he leaned on I think it was an existing model out there, so that he didn't have to train a model himself. And then like we did a blog post about it, and then Lush reached out to us and were like, hey, this is really cool, like we want to have a packaging free store, like can we use this technology to help us do that? And we were like, sure, yeah, let's do it. So we took his project and we created a brand new model that I think recognized, I think it was about, back then, I mean, I don't know what it is now, it's going to be thousands now, but back then when we first launched it, it was about 400 bath bombs. And for the app to recognize 400 bath bombs, we had to take about 40,000 images of bath bombs. so we could train this model, and so it could recognize bath bombs, because what you have to remember is every Lush store is different, and every bath bomb is hand crafted, so they are all different. Like, they might look similar, but they are all different. So when you're training a model to be able to recognize something, that's quite a challenge. And yeah, we did it. I think we did it we turned it around in about 2 weeks for them, and then they took that app in-house and they have been working on that, and it's now, it was called Lush Lens. I think in some countries it's still called Lush Lens, but in some countries they have absorbed Lush Lens into the main consumer app, so that you can then use it to purchase stuff. But it was an incredible case study, and it all came about from just playing about with this technology.
That's incredible. And I love how they found you, and actually what the original concept was of it helping people with sight loss.
I mean, yeah,
I could see so many use cases for that. That's amazing. That's such fun stories.
Yeah, it's and that's what the beauty of Free-ish Time, where you can play about with technology, because you can easily repurpose existing technology for new use cases. It's just about spending time, just tailoring things and tweaking things, and that's where we do invest a lot of time, effort, and energy into that, and the team love doing it. And if it can help benefit our clients, or have positive social impact out there in the world, then we're all for that.
I love it. So I'm going to wrap with this question for you. And I think this is one, like a preconception maybe, is that some people might be thinking, well, no one's going to download our app. So is investing in this tech worth the investment? And what was interesting is I recently read a statistic where there was like 218 billion app downloads last year in 2020. So I think that proves the concept wrong. But where do you really see, whether it's apps or other types of digital experiences, where do you see them going in the near future? Like, what do you think is going to be happening in the space?
So it's going to keep growing, and it's going to keep becoming more popular. I think COVID has also been a huge catalyst for people to realize that technology can enable a lot of things to happen. For me personally, I think you just have to go back to some really basic questions, and you've got to think about the value exchange. So if you want someone to use your app or website or voice skip, like whatever the solution is, you need to think, well, what value are you giving that end user, that person in your target audience? Like, what are they getting from it? And this comes back to having a very clear measure of success for your organization, but also the target audience. What does good look like for them? But for me, whenever we're creating a solution, there are 3 questions I want answered. So one, what's going to make the person use it? Okay. What's going to keep the person from coming back and repeating? Yeah. And the third question is, what's going to stop, if it was an app, what's going to stop someone from deleting this off their mobile phone? And
so good.
I think if you can get those 3 questions answered, then your chances of success, whatever that is, are going to be much, much higher. Because it's one thing creating a digital solution, a technical solution, but it's another thing telling people about it and getting people to engage with it.
Yeah, a million percent.
That is super, super hard. But I think there is just going to be a lot more, and I don't want to use, like, I think the word selfish is wrong, but I think a lot more users are questioning, okay, well, if I am going to spend time online or on my phone or on a device, it needs to add some really good value to me, like whether that's entertainment, whether that's making my life easier, whether that's allowing me to connect with someone more. Like, I don't know, like there's lots of different examples, but I think they're going to be a lot tougher on that. So I think you have to be super clear in terms of that value exchange, because consumers are becoming more skeptical. Like, they know that a lot of companies or organizations just want data. They just want to be able to sell you something. And I think you can't go into this like that anymore. Like, that's very old school. It's a very old school way of thinking. I think you do have to put, and I hate using the term user, but you have to put them first. You have to champion the user and think, okay, well, what do they need or want? And then how can we, you know, solve our problem by helping our target audience.
Totally. This has been incredible. I am so excited I just want to dive into all the projects that you work on and learn about them. So I want to continue this conversation with you offline. Thank you so much for your time today and the mission and the work that you do. How can people contact you and or ThreeSided Cube?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me, Puff, Puff, at 3sidedcube.com. So you can reach me on email, or failing that, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or holler at ThreeSided Cube.
Did I get that right?
Yeah, Puff at 3sidedcube.com. Perfect.
Okay, awesome. Beautiful. Puff, you rock. Thank you again. So welcome to the United States.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope everyone is super kind to you, and I can't wait to connect with you in person. So have a good rest of the week, and I'll chat with you soon.
No worries. Take care, everyone, and thank you for having me.
She was amazing. One, I love talking to somebody who has a nice accent. And I'm so glad she's here in the States so that we can have her in person at events and everything. And I'm also super thankful to Fundraise Up for allowing me to crash their space today here in New York, and for sponsoring this session. I'm going to go ahead in the comments and drop a link to ThreeSided Cube and Fundraise Up so you can check out more information. And if you want to get onboarded with Fundraise Up, it's super simple. Don't let the tech deter you from getting set up. So with that, I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. See ya.